Judy is the founder and owner of Power and Presence Training.
Mm-hmm.
So, Judy, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is Power and Presence Training for our listeners.
Well, the name kind of speaks for itself in one way, doesn't it? Power and presence. And I work with leaders, managers, employees in organizations, nonprofits, health industry, federal government, and one-on-one, just working on how to increase our power and presence in areas and situations where we feel like we've lost it. My approach to dealing with it and to helping other people regain power and presence under pressure is to use the Martial Art Aikido, which is all about how we can use energy instead of resisting it and redirect it towards a mutual goal. I became fascinated with Aikido in the mid-'80s when I was still in the real estate business, and gradually began to experiment with it. Thomas Crum, who's written a lot of books using Aikido as a metaphor and training tool, was my mentor, and I'm still good friends with him today and very grateful for all he's given me. So Aikido really, first and foremost, is a martial art, but there are many people like myself now who use it as a metaphor and methodology for helping people work with different energy. Because in Aikido, the difference between it and other martial arts is our goal as an Aikidoist is to not harm the opponent, okay? Mm-hmm. So instead of blocking a punch, for example, we engage that energy. So I'll get off the line of attack. I'll step in oftentimes to connect with the attacker and then redirect his or her energy somewhere so that I stay safe and they stay safe. And so I get to use all this energy instead of trying to block it or keep it away, which just causes stress and difficulty.
Right. And how have you found that useful? I mean, do people, are they able to take it back and to use it in their organizations, these techniques of using energy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example, a verbal example, for example. Maybe somebody would say, that's a stupid idea, right, at a meeting. And so the non-Aikido approach, and a fairly typical one might be, no, it isn't. It's a great idea. What are you talking about? Right? So that's what I mean by blocking energy. Okay, so I'm resisting what's coming toward me. And the Aiki approach, verbally, and this is the way that the metaphor translates in organizational settings, might be, so that's a stupid idea. Really? Tell me more. Why do you think so? What didn't you like about it? Why do you think it's stupid? So I want to learn, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to engage that energy. Or here's another verbal example. I hated that report, right? Mm-hmm. Really easy for me to take that personally and say, feel bad, right? And shut down. The more powerful approach would be to be curious about that remark and say, really? Well, first of all, thanks for reading it. It was a really long report, right?
By the way, just saying.
And okay, what parts of it didn't you like? Or why do you say you hated it? So I'm going to learn something here. Maybe the person didn't hate the whole report. Maybe they just hated the fact that we can't do it because we don't have the budget for it. And
right.
Suddenly I learned something.
Right.
So when you say, how do we shift? I think that it's over time. Because oftentimes, we've built up habits over time that cause us to keep doing the same things over and over and over again until at some point we become old enough or mature enough or aware enough to go, I got to do something different because this isn't working. And it's easy to blame it on the other person and get a divorce, for example, or to sell your business because you think that person, isn't your right partner, or to blame your kids or to blame your boss. And there's certainly a contribution coming from them. I'm not saying that there isn't. And maybe that's it, beginning to shift from blaming other external events or people to acknowledging where my contribution is. So one of my key themes and what my book is about is as unlikely teachers. Each conflict that comes to me now, and this is a shift in itself, I know, for a lot of us, but each conflict that comes to me, I think, okay, it wouldn't be here as a conflict if I didn't need to learn something. Right.
Right.
So we begin to see it as a teacher.
Well, and I think it's so important, the point I just really picked up on is asking yourself good questions. I mean, I think especially, we're all coaches, and we learn to ask good questions to elicit response from our clients. And when you turn the table and ask yourself those questions,
Right.
it sometimes can be challenging, the answers. But I do think there's something to be said about, being very physically aware of yourself and your emotions and how they manifest physiologically. Does your heart start racing? Do you start to clench up? And the more aware you are of that, and you can take that moment. My oldest child sometimes gets a little testy, and we always are like, you know what? Take your moment and breathe. Like, stop and breathe. And trying to teach some of these practices to kids is very interesting as well. And I know I was reading for a little bit of research, you actually have talked about conflict resolution for kids. I'm wondering if you could just, because I think the principles are applicable for all of us,
They
the
are.
BLT.
Yeah, the BLT. And I have to say, this comes directly from Tom, because he worked with kids way before I did, and BLT is something they can all relate to, right? So, but breathe, learn, talk. Breathe. Okay, stop yourself, whatever you're doing. Learn, ask questions, think about what that other person is doing, or what your friend, why they might be acting the way they're acting. And talk, tell them how you're feeling, right? So, I mean, it's so simple, isn't it? It's great for adults, too.
It's great for adults. I was just thinking that is such a nice acronym.
I'm curious, 2 points that you touched on. You talk about conflict. Some conflict is not bad, and some people in corporate America are so afraid of it. So how do you kind of manage injecting healthy conflict to an organization that is so conflict avoidant that everybody just shakes their head, oh, great idea, because it's kind of the opposite side of the coin almost.
Right.
And I'm just curious kind of what you do in a situation like that.
Yeah. Well, if I have the ability, I mean, if this is why I'm brought in, which is the best way, is to work with the leader. If the leader's not afraid of conflict, other people won't be either, because they'll be a model, and they'll say, play the devil's advocate here for me. Tell me what I'm not seeing. You're right. Conflict is the way a group gets to know itself and gets to really find the elegant and sustainable solutions that they need to things, right? Unhealthy conflict, they just fight, and advocate. Yeah, but. Healthy conflict is one, and I wouldn't even call it conflict. I would call it maybe a learning conversation or something in which people are advocating and listening and curious. And I do think it starts at the top.